Welcome to Artscape. I'm Susan Sablon. Fredericksburg has a plethora of amazing artists, and we're known in this area now as one of the art centers, second only to Richmond and Washington, D.C. What's amazing is our artists not only do new arts, and they do traditional arts and contemporary arts and older arts and folk arts, but we also have artists who dabble a little bit in the ancient types of arts. And with me today, I have Cecelia Alvarado, who does mosaics and other art forms. And I am so glad you're here with me today.
That's sweet. Thank you.
That's sweet. She said, I'm sweet. I feel like Rudolph in She Says I'm Sweet. Cecelia, you have a lot of different art styles that you brought with us today, and one of them is mosaics.
Yes.
Do you have a little bit about mosaics you can tell me about? The history?
Well, you know, from some of the reading that I've done about mosaics, and I did take a class on mosaics at the Mass College of Art in Boston when I lived there, and one of the things I learned is that this is one of the most ancient arts. Some people say that it might even be 4,000 years old. However, some of the pieces that are still available to view are some that come from about 400 BC. In Mesopotamia, where they used cockle shells and onyx and clay as the materials for the mosaic. And they also used stones, different colored stones, to create geometric designs and pictures of animals and people. And then about 400 BC, you began seeing stones cut into like cube shapes that were used sort of the way we use tiles today,
right,
in mosaic. And that happened in ancient Greece and Rome, and then they began manufacturing what we call tessera, which is the individual pieces of, well, today we use glass and stone and other materials to create a manufactured piece that is essentially the same shape and size. And now we have all kinds of forms that we use as well. And then in the 1900s, about 1940, there was a new technique called piqué-à-set, which I use actually in a lot of my designs, where you have the broken shards of crockery or plates that are used as pieces for the art as well.
Now, did that start in the U.S. or did that start overseas?
I believe that was northern Italy where that
Was it?
began. Yeah.
Wow. You know, it's neat. I was talking with you before we ever came on weeks ago, and I mentioned that when I went to Pompeii in Italy, they are always unearthing some of the mosaics that are there, and it tells so much about the times and the history and the people. And it's beautiful. Now, you use a lot of different things in your mosaics, and you seem to be very versatile. First off, what made you want to do mosaics in the first place?
You know, I think that I've always been interested in working with my hands. I mean, manipulating things with my hands. And I did collage for a while, and I think I saw a class on mosaics and thought it would be fascinating to take. And then once I took it, I realized that I kind of had an ability to do mosaics, and we were given a giant actually, this is my first mosaic piece in the front.
The one in the front?
The one in the front.
That's beautiful.
And our teacher gave us this giant piece of wood to create on, and it was difficult. I mean, I'm a teacher, so it's hard for me to imagine giving somebody something that big to start with. I would have given them a little coaster or something to learn the technique, but they gave us that. And of the class, probably only 2 of us really finished our piece. And that took me about 92 hours of working at home to finish it. But I was so enthralled with the process, I just couldn't put it down. So from that point on, I began, you know, having more ideas about how I could use mosaic, because although I love the process, the flat surface didn't speak to me as much as a 3-dimensional form.
Something like this.
Right, that's when I started doing using as a base these different forms, like the teapot or the coffee pot, or in this case the candle holder. To me, it's just more appealing and more fun to work on, and that's why I use those as the base.
So you were talking about how nowadays they have the little teeny pieces that are all manufactured,
Right.
but there is nothing that's symmetrical except for the teapot, and you seem to like this.
I do. I much prefer in my mosaics not having identical looking pieces. In fact, you can use a saw to cut your mosaic pieces, but I don't. I use nippers that break in a sort of irregular fashion. You can see here, these are sort of irregular. And I like that look, so that's what I use.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm going to put this one down, but I love that little teeny rose thingy going on there. Okay. So, and just like a lot of, you went from mosaics to other types of art then? Did you start with the mosaics or did you start with something else?
Well, you know, I've done a lot of different forms. I really just like to try new things. And so mosaics I started probably about 10 years ago. And then just a few years back, I began using polymer clay to create jewelry pieces. And a lot of these here are using polymer clay.
Is this polymer clay?
Yes, that's polymer clay.
Okay. Well, I'm going to hold this up too so that you guys can see here. She's talking about polymer clays. What is polymer clay? To people who don't know, like me.
Well, it's just a little packaged clay that comes already prepared. You can buy it at the art or craft store, and then you can mold it and blend it. As you can see, the one you're holding is a blend of a lot of different colors of polymer clay. You mold it into the shape and form you want, and then you bake it in your oven for 20 minutes, and it hardens. And you know, it's just a really easy material to use, and it has such brilliant colors and wonderful results.
Oh, it does. This is vibrant. This is vibrant, and it's popping right out at you. And guess what, guys? She's telling us that it's okay that we can play with Play-Doh again. I think they have the Fimo clay is one of those kinds too.
Right.
Stay tuned with us for more of Artscape. I'm Susan Sablon. With me, I have Cecelia Alvarado, who fancies herself as an artist in mosaics, and she does the polymer clay work. She also does jewelry, one of my favorites. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.